we're broadcasting. It's a Sunday, December 30th, 2018. One of the things we haven't been very good about lately is getting our dates and our days of the week correct. Sometimes, I might say Wednesday, December 26th, when in all reality it's December 27th. So we're going to try to get that right. Now, yeah, it hasn't been very important. We haven't set a very high precedence on it. But the fact is, if we can't even get the days and the times right, it sort of destroys our credibility. And then when we do report extremely important things that are health related, people aren't going to pay too much attention to it. And now, yeah, obviously we've always set the utmost, highest precedence of importance on the health related topics, which we'll absolutely continue to do into the near future and hopefully in perpetuity, God willing, obviously. So we're definitely going to try to get our days right. Today is December 30th, 2018, and it's Sunday afternoon, actually. And we might, you may or you may not be seeing the utilization of the green screen right now. Now, does that mean I'm going to sit here and talk like this and point to this, that, and the other thing and look at the screen to the side and pretend to know what's going on and what I'm pointing at? Not yet, and maybe not ever. But the fact of the matter is, see how news organizations or how national syndicated TV broadcasts set up their green screen is, they'll have the green screen, then they'll have, when they edit it, they'll transpose the image on here. But when the people are standing up there, doing weather or whatever, there'll be the video of them on the side, in real time. So they can look at that. What they're see when they look back, all they literally see is the green screen. But when they look to the side and they see the screen, that's what the TV viewers are seeing. So that's usually the trickery that they use. Now, we probably won't use that. We might, though, at some point. It would be interesting to have some visuals on the wall of maybe like when you put those little cameras and it runs through a digestive system, to run through that and look at all the villi and the small intestines, the large intestines, the esophagus, the saliva building up, breaking down the food, what it does when it gets into the colon, and just how it breaks down the food and extracts the nutrients out of it. That may be something we utilize in the near future, ladies and gentlemen. But for the most part, that might be a little bit advanced for a talk show. Now, yeah, you can always make separate videos explaining it better, but for the most part, we'll probably just stick with a talk show format, maybe toss in some visual stimuli here and there just to, increase the importance or the entertainment factor of it just a little bit. But by and large, we'll mostly just stick with standing in front of a camera and talking because it's really not that difficult to do. And we also always have important messages too, ladies and gentlemen. So that's one thing that we always set an emphasis on. Now, as far as the future direction of the show, we'll occasionally broadcast in other locations. See, one of the problems we have right now, December 30th, 2018, in northern Minnesota, the deep north. Well, we're actually central Minnesota, but northern United States, deep north. See, the temperature outside right now is about 30 degrees, which is actually pretty warm for this time of the year. But say the temperature yesterday was in single digits, and this is Fahrenheit, so it is very, very cold out. Not really conducive to filming. Now, we had an introduction a few months back where we had some outdoor visuals that we were filming next to, and the fact is it was probably about in the teens that day, so it was pretty cold, which isn't very advantageous because you're not allowed to film very long or very many scenes. You got a 1 or 2 shot deal to get it right. And if you don't get it right, your fingers are going to be frozen and you're going to get frostbite after a little while. So, and of course, we're not going to be filming with big jackets and parkas on it and ski masks and trench coats and all that because it would be disrespectful to the audience to do that. And respecting the audience is on the forefront of what our objectives are, ladies and gentlemen. You, the audience at home, we're certainly not here to waste anybody's time. Now, yeah, obviously someone like me, my time isn't really that valuable at all. So it's not a big deal to stand in front of a camera and say stuff. But for you ladies and gentlemen at home, people that actually have important and productive things to do, maybe you're raising a family, working full-time, working part-time, you got a house to maintain, you got mouths to feed, you got some animals to raise, plants to feed and water and spray. All that, spray water on them, not spray dangerous pesticides and fungicides. So all those things add up to expending a lot of time expenditure. So that's why we're not going to try to waste anybody's time. See, wasting time is probably just as just as equivalent as wasting money or even stealing money. So a bank thief, for example, he steals money. So if we were to put out a horrible show, we'd be stealing time, which is just the equivalent of stealing money. Now you could also say, if you intentionally deceive your audience or use deceptive tactics and then you're able to somehow finagle members of the government to film your show across airports and schools and other public facilities, that is absolutely thievery of people's time and respect, disrespecting people as well. So I mean, you have money stealers, time stealers, and then there's health stealers too. Companies that intentionally put dangerous pesticides, fungicides, insecticides, herbicides into their plants and crops that they grow, and synthetic fertilizers, things that they know are very dangerous and damaging to the American public and pretty much any individual and mammals and insects and birds and all that. And we will tackle some of that with our research articles today, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very critical topic, near and dear to my heart, and basically anytime I witness individuals growing up in today's society, I almost get that feeling of vomiting, just knowing how man, you don't really want to call them ignorant, but they're certainly not completely aware of what exactly is going on. And they don't necessarily have to be, and they shouldn't be. I mean, the fact is, you should be able to go to a grocery store, buy food, and know that you're buying something safe and that's going to make you great again. The fact that I have to stand, that I elect to stand up here and see, if I could stand up here and talk about things like pro wrestling or dirt track racing or car maintenance, if I could do that on a regular basis, I probably would. But the reality is, the health scene has gotten so out of control and out of hand that it is a critical topic that we need to tackle every day too. And of course, consistently on a regular basis, I might eat something that doesn't seem to jive. Like for example, a couple weeks ago I bought a whole chicken from Smart Chicken, whatever the company is called. And the due by date was the day that I bought it, because then you get $3 off and it's cheaper and everything. Save money is great and all that. So I bought it that night, put it in the crock pot, next day let it simmer for 12 hours on low. And then ate it up. Felt like a massive rock was in my stomach later that night. And then the next day ate some more of it. Then things definitely got worse after that every day. So I was able to, usually when that happens though, I'm able to check down the list of everything that was consumed, what happened, and things of that nature, and how much weight I'm able to lift to, and which is definitely predicated on food health. Because if you're eating food that's causing you vomiting or projectile diarrhea, your body isn't going to grow muscles. So that's one of the reasons. See, I need to reiterate this very, very clearly articulated and translucent and lucid and pellucid to you, ladies and gentlemen at home. Lifting weights, to me, is done strictly as a way to monitor health based on the food intake and how many weights I'm able to pick up relative to the week or the 2 days before. So if I were able to bench press 180 pounds, I expect to be able to bench press 180 pounds 2 days or 4 days from now when I do it again. And if that doesn't happen, it's usually dietary related. And since my caloric intake is pretty consistent, it would indicate that there's some type of poisons or chemicals that got into the food that I was eating, so that my body had to use the extra calories to rid those poisons, where it was not able to build strength and muscle. Now yeah, you can say there's other life factors too. You may not have gotten enough rest or relaxation, or you didn't sleep properly. Maybe you did some other type of exercises that impeded your ability to lift more weights that particular day you measured it. So over time though, you can kind of rule out a lot of those other extraneous variables and be able to pinpoint it to specific food products and items that you're eating that are deleterious to your health. And as I alluded to earlier, a couple weeks ago it was a chicken, but this past week I was eating some pears that didn't seem to jive either. Now, was it causing projectile diarrhea? Not necessarily. Well, by the end of the bag, it probably was. But initially, it was just, sore stomach and everything like that. And you weren't sure if you should go walk around for 2 hours because you may need to be close to a restroom facility. But I happened to do some research on pears, ladies and gentlemen. And what I found out is, see, they have something called the Dirty Dozen, which is 12 fruits that have pesticides on it, fungicides, insecticides, all just very bad things. And pears somehow weren't on that list. But I dug a little bit deeper. I found an article at naturalhealth365.com What they found is that 49 various toxic pesticides were found on pears. This was tested in 2016. 678 samples indicated residue had doubled since 2010 when they last tested it. In 2010, that's probably when they got the whole dirty dozen of the 12 foods with dangerous pesticides and all that good fun stuff. So 2016 though, pears were found to actually have more pesticides than apples and bananas, oranges, that kind of thing. Now that strawberries, blueberries. Now does that mean those foods are safe? Absolutely not. It just means that pears, like all other fruit and strawberries and vegetables that are conventionally grown commercially, that are non-organic, they're all pretty dangerous products. All right, now getting back to it. So half the samples tested, half of the 678, had at least 5 different pesticides. And these pesticides can probably definitely react when you put them together as well. I mean, individually, they're probably pretty dangerous, but combined, then, you know, if you get into chemistry and you start combining chemical components and they offset other gases and liquids and explosives and everything too, that could absolutely occur when you combine these pesticides, especially when you place them into your body and they react with your stomach acid and another changing environment. Because when they're on the fruit, there may not be a catalyst for them to react. But when you eat them, your body may cause a catalyst for them to react to each other. Now, one of the melancholy aspects of the story is they thoroughly washed and cleaned, but the residue is still intact. So that would indicate that it's likely getting into the cellular structure and in the internal parts of the plant. So the plant's roots, you know, pear for example, it's a pear tree. So the roots are probably taking up the insecticides and then it's getting into the actual fruit and seeds. I mean, you don't eat the seeds, but it's probably getting into the fruit, the meat of the plant. And the majority of these tested were U.S. grown pears. So, I mean, these weren't random pears from, you know, India or Bangladesh or, you know, some country where they crap in the water. This was all U.S. grown product, or the majority of it was U.S. grown pears. Now, does that mean they went to the local farmer's market and got the organic ones to test? No, it's conventionally grown. And the fungicide was the most prevalent. That's the one that put on the product, the last step of the journey to when it gets to the store. You know, that's the main preservative in it. So then you don't have all the weird stuff growing on the skin of it. Now, a couple of the pesticides used were carbendazim, diphenylamine, imidaprodid, and acetamiprid. Usually if things are difficult to pronounce, your body doesn't really recognize them either. So carbendazim is a hormone disruptor. They tested it in mammals, and it pretty much eliminates their fertility, you know, in small animals and things like that. It's very toxic to the male reproductive system, which is bad for both males and females. I mean, just because it's bad for the male reproductive system doesn't mean females can all of a sudden consume it. And diphenylamine is banned in Europe for cancer concerns, and it's also very toxic to aquatic organisms. And it's basically, I didn't quite write down what it's used for, but imidaprides and acetamiprides are neon icotinoids. They're the insecticides. They get rid of the little bugs and all that attack the plants. But they're also toxic to sparrow, quails, canaries, and pigeons. Found it a little ironic reading that, because you've probably heard of the statement, the canary in the coal mine. So what happens there is a canary is in the coal mine. When the canary dies, the coal miners know to get out of there. Otherwise, they'll be singing the Shadowgate theme. So if you have these insecticides that are dangerous to a canary, you could absolutely call it the canary in the coal mine effect, which is probably not something that would be best to be consumed by you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. And these are also bee-killing insecticides. And the acetamiprid is a nicotine-like substance. It controls fleas on cats and dogs and all that stuff too. So you can probably buy it commercially. Not really sure what the brand name is, but it's a very dangerous chemical. Now someday I probably will learn to pronounce a lot of these names. kind of feel like a moron trying to stand up here and read them. But I mean, the fact is, it is very important to be aware of it and to be aware of what's in your food. Now, as far as these other 49 toxic pesticides found in pears, those were the 4 biggest ones: carbendazim, diphenylmethane, imidacloprid, and acetamiprid. Other than that, I'm sure the rest of them are pretty dangerous too, as far as what they are. Didn't really look into it too much. But if we get to another article here, this was a study done on shampoo and toothpaste. Now this was on naturalnews.com. So first we got naturalhealth365.com and then naturalnews.com. So what this study did is apparently it proved that shampoo and toothpaste are altering sex hormones in adolescents. Young girls reaching puberty much earlier. Apparently they originally reached it around 11 years old, and now it's down as early as 8 years old. Now you may have noticed this too. In middle school, people would be about probably 12 to 14 years old. So the females, most of them have already reached pretty close to full maturity. So they're usually larger than a lot of the males. And nowadays they're reaching it much earlier, which apparently isn't such a good thing. And boys are having lower testosterone. Testosterone is one of the driving factors of your muscle growth, your overall well-being, your stress and anxiety, all those kinds of things. Very important. A lot of people get testosterone replacement therapy later on in life. But what happens there? Your body works as a feedback loop. It identifies how much testosterone is in your body and it produces it based on that. So if you're artificially placing testosterone in your body, it's going to start producing less. And then when you get off of the therapy, it's going to continue producing less because apparently it's not able to produce more. And that's how the endocrine system works. It emits all these hormones. Testosterone's a hormone. It emits all these testosterone to your body, and then the different parts of your body that wants it picks it up. Now what they found is that these products can pass through the skin, your scalp obviously with the shampoo, and you can inhale it or inadvertent ingestion. Anyone that's used toothpaste has probably swallowed it too. Not too many people swallow shampoo. There's definitely a bit of a taste detriment there. So endocrine disrupting chemicals that they found are taliphates, parabens, and phenols that all mimic hormones. So they get into your body, they travel your bloodstream, and they grab onto the receptors and they coat the receptors. So when actual important things that you want to go through your body, the types of hormones, like for example the pancreas is making insulin, for example, and all the receptors are full of phenols or parabens or taliphates, then the insulin doesn't basically do anything. It probably just circulates and then it goes in your kidneys or livers to get filtered out and urinated out. And what they also found is that these chemicals can pass through the womb. So see, the womb is usually a pretty strong barrier, but nowadays we're definitely seeing more and more. The testing has advanced too. But they're seeing more and more of these chemicals crossing that boundary. There's also the blood-brain barrier, which is generally a pretty strong barrier. But there's also things that can cross that too. Monosodium glutamate is one of them. So a lot of times when you read something that says not safe for pregnant mothers, it's generally not safe for anybody. But it's easier to prove that it's not safe for mothers. So then that's why the companies have to put it on there. So it's a little bit more difficult to prove something with an unequivocal doubt that it's dangerous to a person, to just a regular adult human being. But if you can prove it's dangerous to a pregnant or nursing woman, then you can put it on the label. And it's easier to prove as well in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. What they found is that the prevalence of autism has increased with the endocrine disrupting exposure. Scientists discovered up to 44 different EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, like flame retardants on furniture and coolant chemicals and agriculture products. A lot of people, mattresses for example, they made some weird law where it has to be flame proof. So the whole solution to that was, rather than getting natural ingredients like wool or cotton or latex, they just douse it with a whole bunch of weird chemical causing agents that supposedly suppress flames and are flame retardants. And then those meet the laws. It's not like companies are just maliciously putting those products and items into it. their objective is to make a profit, and the people that make the laws are thinking they're working in the best interest of you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. But there was some studies too where a lot of firefighters were exposed to these flame retardants because they would fight fires in a house, and then these mattresses with all the flame retardants were still, it was all reacting to the insane amounts of heat. So then it was off-putting all these cancer chemicals in the air. So a lot of these firefighters were getting cancer from it. So that now they're starting to look into it to see maybe this isn't such a good idea to put all these weird, strange chemicals on mattresses. And if you do want to get a mattress, mygreenmattress.com has good organic ones for very reasonable prices. I got one for $700. They roll it up and then they ship it to you, and then you unroll it and it turns into a big mattress. So it's really handy. And one other thing that I wanted to discuss before we reach the conclusion of the show: Walmart, Costco, Kroger, Publix, and Albertson, these are mostly retail outlets or grocery stores, that they've had chickens that were above antibiotic levels, or what was considered safe for antibiotic levels in the population. Now, it is some kind of federal law that you're not allowed to put antibiotics in chicken. So if you ever see chicken that says no antibiotics ever, it's a loss. I mean, it's obvious. It'd be like saying you don't kill people. I mean, it's a loss, so you're obviously not going to do it. Now, that's maybe not the best commercial example, but to just put it on the package and prominently display like it's some great upstanding moral thing to do, they're not doing it because it's upstanding moral. They're doing it because it's a federal law. And sometimes they'll say federal law prohibits the use of antibiotics in chicken, but apparently it's still getting in some chickens here. So whether it's lax testing or whatever the case may be. And what the antibiotics does is it's just meant to stave off illnesses and to help the chickens grow faster. That's basically the only objective of it. It doesn't make them, I suppose, if they get some serious diseases, I guess it'll make them livable. It'll put them in a livable state, but it doesn't make them any healthier. You may have seen the company where they claim to put not cilantro, but it's like so it's either like parsley or one of those little green leaves. They'll put that in their water, then that supposedly acts as an antibiotic. So you can maybe try that at home with your own. And unfortunately, I forget what that particular piece of spice was. But hopefully we'll be able to have it at the next show. And that also reminds me too, ladies and gentlemen, going back to the introduction of the show, obviously we've made a few mistakes here and there. So what I generally want to do is try to correct some of those mistakes from the previous shows for the next shows. But to do that, we would have to assume that you are watching in a sequential fashion, which is probably not going to happen. So it's maybe not such a bad idea to just point out some of the flaws and fallacies that we've stated before, and maybe do it multiple times over the course of many shows. Like, for example, I made the statement once that minerals are synthesized in your body, which is absolutely unequivocally false. There are some vitamins that are, but there aren't any minerals that are. Those all come from the ground or from the sky and the earth and the heavens above. So your body doesn't make minerals. You have to eat them in good nutrient-dense soil. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to put a wrap on this show. And I'm glad to have you here joining us once again. Hopefully we'll be back in the very near future. It is New Year's weekend, so that definitely allocates us a little bit of time, because the sponsors then don't really require that we do anything for them, so that leaves us a lot more time to run the show. With that being said, we salute you and thank you. Good night.